I'm sure you've heard about fight, flight, and freeze as trauma responses, but there's a fourth one, the fawn response, that is not as commonly talked about. So that's our topic for today, and I'm back with Ula. Ula, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hi, if you haven't seen me before, my name is Ula Makowska. I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm trained in RTT. I am a friend of Natalie, and we have so many things to talk about. And yeah, I'm really excited for today's topic and talk about fawn,
Me?
the fawn response. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being here. The topic for this podcast, actually, like most of them, but came forth from a conversation we had about the freeze response, because I always thought that I went into freeze, but then after talking to you, I realized, oh, actually, I really I relate to the fawn response as well, but I just never really identified with it because it's not as commonly talked about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as, like, I'd heard about it, but I never really looked into it. So I never really knew what it meant. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people don't know about it as well because many of the psychological theories and books and what was taught for so many years, we didn't even mention the fawn response, right? There wasn't really a thing that was known. So actually, when it first started, it was only fight or flight.
Yeah.
Right? And then we included freeze, and only in more recent years actually was fawn even ever mentioned. And I also relate to it, and I have a lot of ties in my mind to see how it kind of links into some of the other things we've spoken about. But maybe it might help if we kind of just give some context on what things are, and then we'll move on to fawns. So as people may have already heard before, I'm sure most people know what fight or flight is, right? It's our body's response when we're in danger.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that doesn't have to be physical danger. It can be psychological danger, or it can even be the perception of danger when there isn't any, right? So that's also very connected to the burnout that we were talking just before, and the way that we respond, it's a pattern, right? And people are always going to have a dominant method of responding to danger. So the very obvious ones are fight or flight, and that's really related, and we really think about it more in like a physical sense. So if there's a physical danger like a bear or a tiger or something, you're going to fight if you have the capacity, or you're going to run if you don't, right? That's very clear. But you can also have fight or flight in a less physical sense as well. Like maybe you're having a disagreement with your partner, or maybe you are feeling an uncomfortable emotion, right? So if you're feeling an uncomfortable emotion, or you're having a fight with your partner, a disagreement, then that fight response could be to escalate, or it could be to bring up things, or, even if there's maybe not a disagreement, but you feel a pain or you perceive a danger, you might initiate a fight, right? So it might be something like that. And flight is very obvious. You can physically leave. Maybe you're avoidant. That could lead to like a flight behavior if you feel unsafe, and that unsafety can often come from feeling emotions or having other people experiencing emotions around you. So those things are really clear. With the flight, there can also be mental flight, which I mentioned, I think it was in the last episode about burnout. When I was doing haptotherapy, I noticed, and my haptotherapist mentioned to me, that my instinct to go into my head when I had an uncomfortable feeling, to go into my thoughts and into my mental chatter, was a flight response as well, because it was disconnecting me with an uncomfortable emotion in the body.
I really see that.
Yeah. So there's also like a psychological flight. So those are the two big ones, right? Fight or flight. Then we have freeze. So freeze really comes in a physical sense. When you can't fight, you can't run. So like imagine the tiger's got you,
Mm.
right? You can't run, you can't fight, you can't do anything. You freeze, you dissociate. It's the only thing you can do to keep yourself safe. You can't protect your body, you can only protect your mind, right? So that's a full dissociation. And we dissociate things like scrolling or watching TV or really just zoning out. Those are all forms of dissociation, all forms
So
of freeze.
let's say when you're doom scrolling and you know it's not good for you,
Mm-hmm.
but you also feel like you can't stop.
Yes,
So that would be freeze.
totally. And it's the same, like I've even had the thing where it's like, oh my God, I need to have a shower, but I literally can't. Like,
Yeah.
I can't get myself there. I'm scrolling on my phone or whatever. And then I get myself in the shower. It's like, oh my God, I can't get out.
Yeah.
And I never really put those two and two together. But I really noticed that I had that pattern of, like, you know, wherever I am, I'm good here. I can't get myself to the next place. But once I do, it's like, well, I don't want to go back, right? So freeze can also show up like that as well. So there's a lot of different ways that it can occur. Those are obviously the main three that are spoken about, and there's a lot of research, a lot of discussion. People know about those things, but not many people know about fawn, right? And it shows up in a totally different way, and I think it wasn't really even acknowledged or discovered until more recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I see fawn as showing up a lot to do with the attachment styles,
Okay.
right? So particularly people who are either anxiously attached, people pleasing, struggling with boundaries. For people who are in those categories and in those groups, if you're feeling unsafe, you can't run, you can't escape, you're stuck with whatever this situation is, the only way to be safe is to appease the danger. So, you know, we're not really talking about lions and tigers anymore. We're more talking about people. And usually a fawn behavior starts in childhood, right? So if you had a parent or a teacher or a sibling or whoever who really got their way, who really was maybe in control of the household, maybe had more sway than other people who were there, so it wasn't really, you know, fair or equal. Maybe that person, maybe they were abusive, like verbally or physically or whatever. If you're a child, you don't have much control in that situation, right? So you have some options. You don't have fight. You could try, but you don't have freeze unless, you don't have flight unless you're going into your head mentally. You only have two options. It's freeze or fawn. So the first option is dissociate, and the second option is give them what they want.
Yeah. Basically,
right?
give up your boundaries.
Totally. So, like, let's say you have a parent that really wants you to be a certain way, like be a good girl, be quiet, stop doing that, don't play in the mud, like girls play with dolls, play inside, stay clean, you know, do as you're told, this kind of thing. If your actions, right, could lead to something like maybe them hitting you or yelling at you or getting you in trouble or taking away things that you want, like time with your friends or whatever, if that feels like a danger to you, then you're going to respond out of one of those four responses, right? And so a fawn response could be belittling yourself, you know, making yourself more quiet, more timid.
To feel safe.
To feel safe. Like, let's say maybe you have a parent with a mental health problem.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not putting any blame here. Like, if you have mental health issues, you might react in ways which can be harmful to other people and to yourself, right? That's just common knowledge. But if you're a parent that has a mental health problem, let's say you have, you know, maybe lower ability to control your emotions and also your responses, you can be very reactive. You could yell, for example, or something like that. And that can be really scary to a kid. So if you have a parent that screams in a way that's very triggering or scary, you don't want that parent to do that, right?
No. So you're gonna please them.
Yeah, you're gonna please them. And on one way we can think of it like, you know, that child is being a good kid.
Yeah.
Right? And I think a lot of, especially women, have grown up being told, oh, you're such a good girl. You're so well behaved.
Mature for your age.
Mature for your age.
Yeah, right?
Totally. Because you had the child essence of yourself squashed down at a very early age in order to do what the adults wanted you to do.
Yeah.
Because you were maybe scared of their responses, right? And that the best response to that is obviously to do what other people want and repress what you feel is right.
Mm-hmm.
And so on a very easy and simple to understand way, you can see how that affects a child. But those patterns don't go away just out of nowhere. We keep those patterns when we're an adult. And it can show up in many other places. Like if you have a really scary boss.
Okay.
Or maybe you have a friend that's a little bit abusive or manipulative.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have a friendship group where one person kind of commands or controls that group.
Someone who's more dominant than you are.
Yeah, totally.
Because I've experienced it a lot of times, and it wasn't necessarily that the people were actually being like manipulative on purpose, but they were just like more opinionated than me.
Or assertive.
Yeah, more assertive. That's a better word. They would just emphasize their opinion more than me. Because as soon as, not so much anymore, but in the past especially, if someone would have a different opinion than me, I would just shut down. And I'd be like, oh, you must be right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in that way it can also, like in childhood, it can come from like perceived danger, right?
Yeah.
But then when you move into adulthood, it doesn't have to even be actual danger. It just has to be maybe someone who's more confident than me, someone who's more attractive than me, someone who's more successful than me or financially better off or, you know, is better with their words, right? All those things can give someone a feeling of, you know, being better or superior. Not that they perceive it that way, but you perceive it that way.
Yeah. Because you feel inferior to them.
Yes. Yes. And that inferiority gives you that same perspective as that little kid. Like, I'm small, I'm weak, you're big, you're in control. Like, I need to appease you for my safety.
Yeah. So, let's say someone's listening to this and they recognize or they relate to everything we've just said. How can they start working on that? Or what can they do about that?
Yeah, so a lot of it is to do with your body's most comfortable way to find safety. Like its pattern that it feels most comfortable with. So for me, that was flight. Fawn and flight.
Yeah.
So for me, it was mental flight as well. I've been stuck in my head for years. And even now that I'm aware of it, I find it very difficult to consciously bring my awareness back in when I'm experiencing something challenging emotion or something like that. So it has to be first awareness of what are your patterns. Is it fight? Is it flight? Is it freeze? Is it fawn? And once you become aware of those things, noticing how am I getting triggered by these things? Like what kind of things do trigger me? How often am I being set into one of these responses? And once you kind of know the patterns, you can start to work on it. So there's different things you can do, but some of the basic things that work often are to do with regulating the nervous system. So, for example, if it's like a freeze, you know, just going up and starting one small thing, right? If you're in freeze and you just have to go start having a shower, you can go splash some water on your face, for example.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And immediately going to the shower.
Yeah. And like certain things, you know, when you have nervous system dysregulation, people talk about it a lot. There's certain strategies that you can use. So one of those is splashing water on your face. Another one is going for a walk. Another one is moving your body more physically, more aggressively. So shaking or dancing or whatever, just really getting the blood pumping for a very short amount of time, like just 5 minutes. That stuff already helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like you can do basic breath work. We were just talking about an app on my phone that you can kind of customize. It's just like a 3 to 5 to 10 minute breath.
The one we did the other day.
Yeah. So you can use that to help regulate your system and regulate your breathing. So you can choose how long the in-breath, the hold, the out-breath, the hold. And there's different ones for different things. So something like that is really helpful because you only have to do a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to list everything because there's so many things. If you just look up online nervous system regulation,
Yeah.
you'll find so many different options. But those are really good basic things that you can do.
One of my favorite things for nervous system regulation is EFT tapping.
Yeah. Do you want to tell about it?
The combination of acknowledging the things verbally, like speaking out loud, and then tapping. That's it. It's for me, it's like the perfect combination of mental work and body work as well.
Yeah. So how did you get started in that? What was your experience?
I just found it on YouTube one day after I had already done a couple of sessions with you. I just stumbled upon it one day. I think I might have seen a couple of TikToks as well where people were just doing these EFT tapping routines. And I just started experimenting with it on my own because my brand is called Conscious Copy, so it's, the way we speak to ourselves has a huge impact. So then my train of thought was, well, if it has a huge impact on us, then imagine what impact our words or our copy have on other people. So I've always been very aware of, especially the most recent 4 or 5 years, about how language impacts us. And
I can resonate with that, obviously, as a hypnotherapist.
yeah, exactly. And it's that combination, especially in EFT, because RTT has helped tremendously. But in the moment when I need to calm myself down before a call or something, like I don't always have time to do a full-on session, right? So the EFT tapping has really helped in those kind of circumstances where I need like immediate relief.
Yeah, for me it's shaking.
Yeah, shaking is also a really good one.
Yeah, and like if you've never heard of it, it's not just like, like silly, like you get into it, you really shake hard, and that hard shaking, it gets the blood pumping and it just releases that excess energy, the nervous energy. And we were talking about this the other day. If you ever see videos of safari or something where an animal is getting chased, like a gazelle or something is getting chased by a lion, or, a duck is getting chased by a dog or something, when the danger is gone, when they're no longer exposed to that dangerous stimulus and they feel the ability to feel safe again, the animal will shake their whole body for like 10 seconds and they release that nervous energy.
Yeah, you called it like closing the
loop.
Closing the loop.
Yeah.
But as humans, unless you're consciously like shaking or doing these somatic body exercises, you're not really closing the loop, are you? It stays in your nervous system.
Exactly. And we've forgotten how to do it.
Yeah.
Nature does that all the time. And there's a lot of things that nature does that we've forgotten how to do as humans, right? And that's just one of them. And it's something so simple that you don't think it's going to help you. But when you actually do it and you get into it, and you do it properly, you feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, after you've done it, you feel so much better. But in the moment, especially when you're like, I was going to say, especially when you're in freeze, like, you literally don't want to move your body. You feel stuck.
Totally.
You don't want to do it, even though you know it is going to make you feel so much better. It's almost like with going to the gym or running or something like that. I never feel like going to the gym. I never feel like running. But then when I do, I'm like, oh, I feel so good now.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I know the feeling because I've had it as well. And one thing I even do, which maybe it's really silly, I just do like a crazy like slap in the face And if you don't want to do that, maybe you can do your arms or your legs. Also, like just like tapping all over your body is really good because it brings you back into your body.
I've seen people do this one as well, like
Yeah.
with the, I think this is like from EMDR, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I think I've seen it as well, but I'm not really sure what's
But
the
it's like
process.
supposed, because you're doing like you're twisting your hands, and it's like supposed to like activate the different sides of your brain. It's supposed to help as well. I don't know the specifics about it, but I've seen people do this as well.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I mean, like I definitely don't know all the ways to do it. There are so many ways to regulate your nervous system. Even we were talking the other day about fascia,
Oh yeah.
right? And fascia connects all the systems of your body. It's connected to your respiratory system, your circulatory system, your nervous system, your lymphatic system. All those things have fascia intertwined within them. And fascia responds to your energy and your emotions as well. So actually, even doing some fascial exercises can help your nervous system get more regulated. I was really interested in Human Garage for a little while, and they have their own set of fascial exercises, and they even have like a stress reset, which you can use. So obviously you have to get yourself motivated enough to get up out of the chair or out of the freeze or the flight or the fawn or whatever. And, you know, some of these things, maybe, you know, let's say it's fawn, right? If you're there with that person and you're fawning, you can't just start tapping yourself or like shaking, right? You need to give yourself some space. So even, for example, just going to the toilet, like closing the door and just like shaking in there or like tapping in there or doing a fascial exercise in there, it's something you can do if you're in a scenario where you maybe don't have the space to do the full thing, right? You can even just do something small, easy. But with all these things, the more you practice regulating your nervous system, you do a little bit every day, actually, the easier it becomes. You don't need to do a big overcorrection if something happens. If you're practicing it regularly, then those reactions won't be as strong, of course. So you don't need to really go for it as often. But I think it's worth mentioning as well that almost everything that happens to us, unless we're in real physical danger, like the lion or a car accident or something physically dangerous, it's all perceived. Right? So like what you were saying, like feeling someone that is above you and then you fawn to what they say, not even like on purpose. It's all perceived. And that means that there's a belief behind that behavior.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have a belief about, you know, this person's better than me because of this person's more powerful or more educated or more successful, I have to listen to them.
Deep down, that's really a belief that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
That's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, it can be variations of those things. It can also be other things, but you need to address those beliefs really in order to be able to clear and stop that trigger. Because the trigger is there to show you where you still need space inside, where you still need to look within. The trigger is there to show you the things that you haven't been honest or open with yourself about, right? So if I get triggered when someone raises their voice at me, even if it's like in a fun or jovial way, or, you know, you perceive that as danger, you need to look at, why am I getting triggered that way? Yeah. What experiences have made me feel this way? What beliefs about those experiences make me feel triggered every time someone raises their voice, for example? So when we do that in hypnosis, we can really go back to exactly the moments where you experience those things and find out what was the experience, what did it make you believe, and then you can release the emotions associated with that, right? And that's complementary to doing the nervous system work, because the nervous system work gives you the skills how to regulate your body if you do get triggered or if you are in an unsafe experience. And then working on the beliefs gives you the freedom to not be so sensitive to your environment. And it's okay to be sensitive because, you know, some people are more sensitive than others, but some sensitivity comes from trauma, right? And some sensitivity is just inherent. And
How can we know the difference between sensitivity that comes from trauma and inherent sensitivity? Is there a way to tell?
I think that's a good question. I think that there's probably a connection. Maybe it's not all black and white, and maybe there's gray in between. I think it's a complicated one.
That's okay.
So-
I was just curious.
Yeah, no. So I think some people, like, I think, for example, I am quite sensitive, but I really shut off my sensitivity when I disconnected from my body.
Yeah.
And some people are just naturally more connected to their body, so they are able to be in more connection with their emotions and things like that. I think what you could even notice is people who are maybe more sensitive due to trauma, that there's consistent patterns of what they're sensitive about. And you can really see, like, okay, this exact behavior from this other person triggered this in me, or this topic, or whatever the thing is. I'm not gonna make like such a clear distinction on it, because I don't think it's so black and white, but it is worth exploring. Yeah. And those things can be worked on. I think it's not our responsibility for others to bend when we're triggered, right?
No.
It's our responsibility to work through our own triggers when we find them. And if something pops up that's new, it's like, okay, wow, I didn't realize that impacted me so much. But once you know about it, you can then start to reflect about it and address it. But if we don't address it, we're kind of walking around expecting everyone to do everything to make us feel okay except us.
Yeah, and that's where you really need to take responsibility for your own feelings, right?
Yeah, it's like very much a victim mentality, and you know, I had a victim mentality.
Same.
Very much so. So I'm not blaming anyone or trying to make anyone feel bad. It was me too, but if you're a victim, you don't ever change.
No, 'cause
You
keep
stay a victim
blaming
forever.
everyone.
It's everyone else's fault except your own, right? And that doesn't mean that other people didn't do bad things to you, right? Other people probably contributed, right? We don't live in a vacuum, but you're the one that's continuing to let yourself feel this way, right? You have power over what you do now.
Yeah.
And I can choose to be in denial and blame everyone else for my problems, or I can choose to look at myself and work on myself and address the things that trigger me and become a more evolved version of myself.
Yeah.
So it's everyone's responsibility at a certain point. And if you're not ready, that's fine, but don't put it off forever.
No, one of the best things one of my exes once said to me was literally, stop putting yourself in the victim position. And at the time, of course, I was pissed off. I was like, what do you mean?
Fuck you.
Yeah.
How dare you?
But it's something that really stuck with me even after all these years. And yeah, I mean, that one single sentence has made a huge impact on my life, because I did used to put myself in the victim position all the time. And we talk about this more in depth in another episode, right? I don't remember which one it is, but yeah, taking responsibility for your feelings, your reactions, your life in general, so important.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And if you're in fawn, you don't even know what those are.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're only living to appease the other person. You're only living to be aware of what they want and what they need and keep them happy. And as long as they're happy, then I'm okay.
Yeah.
Right? So that's your codependency. That's your poor boundaries. That's your anxious attachment. It's all those behaviors, right? And they all have that same response.
Yeah.
But you can change it. And that doesn't mean you're never going to get triggered again and you're never going to go into a threat response. But it does mean that if that happens, you can be more aware of it and get out of it faster, and it's not going to happen that often anymore.
Yeah. So let's say people want to work on their own patterns and their own reactions. How would RTT help them with that? Or your method, how would that help them specifically?
Yeah, so it would help you basically by helping you see the patterns, helping you find the triggers, because you already know what the problem is. You know what the problem is. You just don't know how to fix it. Right? So many people come in and they know exactly what's wrong in their life, but they don't know what they want and they don't know how to make it right. So we need to explore how those certain triggers are coming up in your life. So the nervous system work, that's more for you to do on your own, and we can give examples of how to do that and what different ways to use those nervous system regulating tools are. But in order for you to stop being triggered so often, you need to address the triggers themselves. So whatever that thing is, like people talking loudly, or maybe you're afraid of conflict, or it could be literally anything. We need to go back to the root cause of it and what that belief is. And once you release that belief, it's often around safety or not feeling good enough. Let's be real. Those are the main things. Once you release those beliefs, we can reframe them, put in new positive ones, help you imprint those new positive ones. We talked about putting seeds in the garden. You have to pull out the roots first, right? You have to pull out the old beliefs.
Yeah.
So that when you plant the new seeds of the new beliefs, the garden will grow in a healthy way. So we do that, and we really reframe all those old beliefs, all those old perceptions into something new that's going to help you move forward. So that's how we would address it.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing all of that.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. And let's say people want to start plucking the weeds in their own garden and start planting new beliefs. Where can people find you?
Yes. Well, you can find me. We're going to put all my links in the notes. So my Instagram is Ulla Makowska with an underscore at the end. And my website is ullamakowska.com. And you can book a call there. You can either book a session directly or a discovery call, and we can have a chat and we can help you with that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me again.
And thank you for watching or listening.